Hello everyone, I'm Ashley Wright, and it's been almost 2 exact years of no videos from me. You might be wondering why, but it's basically down to the fact that I've been rather burned out and tired of playing visual novels and adventure games. That sort of happens after you read all the works of Ryukishio 7 and Type Moon in such a short amount of time. Was it worth it? I don't exactly know, because about 600 hours of my life was wasted over that. During my short little break, I only played one visual novel, which was Desire from Seasware, but I also played a metric shit ton of shoot-em-ups and Metroidvanias. But anyways, I thought I might as well treat my wonderful viewers to a new video in a good old spooky Halloween mood in the Thanksgiving season. Dead of the Brain 2 is a 1993 point-and-click adventure game, picking off 2 years after where the original game left off, with our protagonist Cole's shenanigans to figure out why the hell there's a goddamn zombie outbreak yet again that's terrorizing him, his girlfriend Sheila, and whoever the hell he happens to bump into this time around, and me, attempting to figure out why the hell this game is so well known and popular among other PC98 titles. This was the third and final release in Fairy Tail's Nightmare Collection series, and the 7th and final in the Dead of the Brain series? I checked. That is certainly not a typo. That was in the original script. Either that's a joke, or Fairy Tail was actually planning a gripping Dead of the Brain saga, similar to how Tactics Ogre and Xenogears would do the exact same thing. Did those games rip off Dead of the Brain? That's a bit of a stretch, but whatever. I'm gonna say that they did. Also, like those other games, clearly Fairy Tail did not make 5 other Dead of the Brain games and decided it would be better to, make other horror games, like Necronomicon. Now, some snobby viewers might be wondering, Ashley, where's the Marine film video? Well, sorry kiddo, but that game isn't translated yet, so I'm going to be skipping over it today. Speaking of translations, I'm going to take a closer look at the translation of this game that came out recently, since that has allowed me to make this video. As a bonus, I'll also discuss the 2 Dead of the Brain 1 translations that were published after my original Retronomicon video in mid-2023. For this video, we're also, of course, going to be going over the PC98 version, because the PC Engine version of 2 is not translated. Again, I'll get to that one later, because first we have to talk about the game itself. After all, this is a video essay, and I have to give the viewer a quality plot summary of every single minute detail that occurs in this game with zero analysis, maybe make an unfunny joke every so often to not bore the shit out of my audience. Is that right? Chapter 2, the game itself. So maybe you played Dead of the Brain 1. Maybe you didn't. But if you didn't, you're going to get your ass spoiled in the first 2 minutes. If you want to learn what happens in the first game, I guess just go play it. Wait, what, you want me to summarize it? Okay, fine, I guess there were zombies, and then there was the Terminator. That's definitely not the Terminator because of the restrictions of international copyright law. Okay, I think that's good enough. The opening basically states that the Terminator, that's definitely not the Terminator because of restrictions of international copyright law from the first game, is actually not dead and back for vengeance. Meanwhile, our protagonists Cole and Sheila have moved into the neighboring city because, everyone fucking died in their old city. Cole and Sheila get engaged, settle down, and bring their friends Terry and Lynn over and have a gay old time. Oh yeah, you remember Terry? That guy that kind of existed in the first game? I love that guy. He's dead now. Yeah, this game doesn't have any chill. You thought that the first game was gory and had an extreme amount of crass violence? To the dismay of American parents and idiotic politicians across the pond around this time, Dead of the Brain 2 turns it up to 11. While the first game took inspiration from Night of the Living Dead, Reanimator, Terminator, and mostly just the vibe of 80s B-movies, the sequel decides to lean into what the 80s were truly about: punk rock rebellion and drugs. Lots and lots of drugs. While in the first game, the reanimation serum was a drug, the reanimation serum in the second game is, a drug now. Basically, it's half heroin and half reanimation serum, being released to the streets under the name Purple Sky, being distributed by the gang Bloody Fox, whose members just kind of existed in the first game as well, but before being put in their place. But this time, they have a much larger presence. This game might be saying something about how heroin is so good for your body that it's basically like a rebirth of yourself, but I wouldn't know. I mean, needles have scared the fuck out of me since I was 6. Oh yeah, and part of the main character roster is a lad named Steve, Ghoul's brother, who's basically a detective trying to figure out what happened to his brother and what this 99.1% pure heroin is truly doing to people. And that's the opening. Yes, this game takes a good quality hour and a half until you actually get to the title card. This marks the end of my elevator pitch for the plot. So most of the plot details you have to sniff out for yourself by playing the game, but there's a few plot details I will have to mention later in the video in the spoiler section. I went into Dead of the Brain 2 kind of expecting it to be boring since there was word about it that the game was like that, uninteresting, and generally not worth getting into. And while I'm fine with people having their own opinions, in fact they should, people with Japanese knowledge should be more considerate when discussing games like these, so people don't get the wrong idea until they actually play the game. I actually enjoyed my time with the game. And while some people have complained about plot problems, and don't get me wrong, there are those, I believe it served to strengthen my experience due to its campiness. The latter events of the game also serve to add to the original in ways. I will say that there's a certain character that certainly gives a lot of insight to Dr. Cougar, the scientist from the original game who created the reanimation serum. Other events also serve to recontextualize what happened in the first game. I was actually quite surprised at how the plot twists went about in this one. It's really all super expected and demands to be seen. I went into this game with the mindset of having a good, relaxed Saturday and Sunday, sort of like a coffee break adventure game. Although if I was a 90s businessman looking for a good, quality, zombie game that took itself seriously and maybe had some sexual content in there, because of course this is a PC98 game we're talking about, I would have been sorely pissed and think I actually got ripped off out of my 8,800 yen. As I said before, Dead of the Brain 2 is point and click, just like the other Nightmare Collection games. However, there are some obvious differences you can notice immediately compared to the first game. Dead of the Brain 2 takes those original 8 massive option buttons on the HUD and simplifies them down to just 2, move and system. Even though I think the massive buttons that were in Dead of the Brain 1 and Marineford are fucking awesome, and I never will get over the go button, this change was certainly for the best. The original Dead of the Brain did not utilize these options to their best potential. A lot of the screens only used 1 or 2 of the options, which would usually just be look or talk. Also, the difference between move and the much cooler go is basically null. They're just the exact same thing. If Marineford does this differently, I wouldn't know, so don't nab me about this one. So instead, in Dead of the Brain 2, all you have to do is just click on certain parts of the screen once for your various actions, and if you need to move, you can just use the move button. And then finally, system is just saving it and loading your game. Also, probably a quality of life addition that was added for this game was that when there's a part of the screen that can be clicked on, some border graphics will appear over it, signifying that it is important. This gets rid of some of the headaches of attempting to find relevant content on the screen that you have to find in order to progress the game, which did actually plague the original games in certain places. Really, I wonder why they did not think of this in the original, but I guess what's done is done, even though I think it was just a no-brainer. Also, really a side tangent, these borders are cool, but what's even better is what Dokusei and Yuno did, which is to have cute little graphics to signify important and clickable parts of the screen. Also, yes, the art is really good. There's not really much to say other than what you can see over the course of this video. This game has a very distinct art style that I haven't seen before or since. Basically, it's the linelessness of the art, and it has an attractiveness that made me fall in love with it from the moment I first saw how Sheila looks in the first scene of this game. Now, you might be wondering if I have any actual negative opinions about this game, and I actually do. No game is perfect, and this one certainly isn't, so I would love to rip into those. I would like to note that we are diving into some pure spoiler territory, so skip to the translation section if you want to learn more about that stuff. But I will like to try to keep these spoilers at a minimum for the stragglers that have not left this video to go play the game. You people know who you are. And I'm watching you. First of all, this is one point that some people might not like, but this is one that I don't really give much of a damn about. It's the sexual content. Dead of the Brain 1 did not have much sexual content at all, but there was this one very boring sex scene, and then there's a part where Sheila gets briefly assaulted by Bloody Fox members, and then other than that, there's a few images of nude female bodies. Meanwhile, in Dead of the Brain 2, the amount of sex that you get is bupkis. You get to have sex with Catherine late into the game, but it's really only like one line, and you get to see an image, but then you're back off to the races, and there's no consequences for cheating on your fiancée Sheila. It's basically a retread of that one sex scene from the original game, where you have to have sex with Kathy. Oh yeah, and you cannot have sex with Sheila, sorry. I think this is some sort of a trend in fairy tale games. I believe one of their earlier titles called Lipstick Adventure does this, so maybe it's a nod to that. That brings me to another part of this game. the retreading, especially with the character Catherine. I'll get to her shortly, but some points of the game you'll notice feel very much like the writers were huffing paint fumes after the first game shipped and didn't have any ideas for a new game. So basically, those plot points are the same as the original. A good example, and this is really just an artistic thing, is the eye gouging in the original game. It's an insanely gripping shot in the first game, and it's definitely one of my favorites. And yeah, they just do it again here. I mean, like, come on, you couldn't just find cool new ways for Cole to kill zombies? I guess eventually all practicality would have to be thrown out of the window, and then they would have to jump into, like, slapstick territory, but really getting some Evil Dead vibes doesn't sound like the worst thing in the world. Oh, right. That reminds me about Catherine. Catherine. You might be wondering, who is this Catherine girl? Well, she's a friend of Sheila's apparently, but really I noticed something strange about Catherine. But it's not because of anything she does. She's completely innocent throughout the game, but basically her name throws me off. Catherine is a very similar name to Kathy, as in the Dead the Brain 1 character. In fact, Kathy is the shorthand or nickname of Catherine. So are these the same character? No, actually. In fact, they aren't. After all, Kathy is dead after being blown to bits in the events of the first game. I mean, can't you see the similarities between the two? They both have blonde hair, and from what I noticed after replaying both games and gathering footage, is that Kathy from Dead the Brain 1 states that she works at a restaurant, and then Catherine in Dead the Brain 2 works at a burger place, which is called Shuffle Foods, so a fast food restaurant. Now, I thought that there was going to be like some sort of plot twist, that Kathy was indeed reincarnated as Catherine with the reanimation serum or something, but no, Catherine just dies. Come on, Fairy Tale. I could have written this game better. Oh well. Anyways, this Kathy silliness gets even funnier when you remember that Atlas made a game called Catherine, where you have to choose between two women named Catherine with a C and Catherine with a K because Vincent couldn't keep it in his pants. And even more so in the full body remaster, where you get another character named Quatherine, or Rin, gets thrown in. But in that game, all that shit is dumb and stupid because the waitress, Erica Anderson, is the best girl 100%. Fuck the other three. I digress with my fantasies. And then there's the greatest sin that this game has, the progression. I will say both Dead the Brains have points of progression that seem completely idiotic. The police station stuff, and then the part where you have to fire at some rocks however many times from the first game come to mind, but that doesn't come close to the level of 1/5 of the puzzle has been solved on the 7 portals type shit that he had to do with this game. I'm exaggerating that this game pulls hexen levels of progress chicanery, but it's nonetheless extremely frustrating. First of all, many action scenes are pure trial and error, constantly dying and retrying until you finally find the invisible blocks that you have to shoot at as the QuickTime event timer ticks down. And then there's one action scene where you have to actually wait for the clock to run out and not do anything because reasons. And then there's this sort of thing that's like a mini game at parts, but that's really the most idiotic way I can describe it. Basically, all it is just quizzing you on what happened so far, and sometimes trying to put the puzzle pieces together. This happens like 6 times in the game, and honestly, it's just tedious. If you get any of the questions in the quizzes wrong, you have to do them all over again. And you don't know which ones you got wrong. It could be all of them, or it could just be one. Could they have been easier if I was paying more attention to the game? Yes, but really, why the hell do I, the player, have to do this? Did the developers just want the player to have just a little bit more control on the game and actually have their lead-head, porn-addicted audience use their fucking brains for 2 seconds? Actually, wait a minute, that might include me. Never mind. But look, they could have just had the characters think through it with their dialogue, just like the first game, and like literally every other visual novel out there, except for the actual, detective-based ones like Ace Attorney, Zero Escape, and even Eve Burstare. But here's the thing. Is Cole a detective? Is Sheila a detective? No. Who is the detective in this game? It's Steve. He should be the one doing these quizzes. Maybe he should have been the protagonist. That would have been an amazing game. Like, a Columbo episode with zombies and shit. Maybe Columbo would have probably figured out all this in just like 5 seconds. Again, Fairy Tale, I can write this game better than you. Best way to end off this video is discussing the PC Engine CD version, released in 1999, and it's actually the last PC Engine game to be released, ever. Basically, it's just a compilation of both Dead the Brain 1 and 2, and it's not a great one at that. I don't really get why so many people were asking Dead the Brain 2 PCE translation where, after the PC98 version was translated, because really, why would you want to play this inferior version? The music is so much worse. It replaces the FM music with PSG audio for the most part, although there are some CD quality tracks, but again, it's few and far between. The art also takes a hit, and it's clear they didn't spend much time working on downscaling it to the lower resolution. This is especially obvious in the first game's port, with Dr. Cougar. Now remember that quality of life feature with the option borders that was introduced in the second game? I would have hoped that they backported it to the first game, but no, the game systems are literally the exact same. Nothing was changed. There's also some voice acting in this version, but it's really not much at all. It's just for the openings and endings of both games. And it's in Japanese, which, it's a Japanese game, but the settings are strictly in America, so it would have been hilarious to hear some Japanese voice actors attempt to speak English lines. I guess some people just want the PC Engine CD translation of 2 because the first one was done. Maybe. I also think some people are just stupid and don't really know how to get PC98 emulation done because they can't properly read the super helpful guides, especially the one that's actually linked in the text file of the Dead Rain 2 translation. And then there's the translations. First, there was the 2019 machine translation of Dead Rain 1 on PC98. That was a whole nother story, so you can go watch my Retronomicon video from 2023 if you want to learn more. But basically after that, a few new translations have came out. A ground-up retranslation patch for PC98 by Wine, and one for the PC Engine version by David Shadoff, was released on the same day, Halloween Day 2023. Currently, there's only a translation for the first part on PC Engine, so the recent 2025 PC98 translation by Wine is the only option for the second part. Oh yeah, and there's also a French translation on PC Engine, if you know that language. I'll try to keep my recommendations short, but if you want to play both Dead Rain 1 and 2, you're best off playing the 2 translations released by Wine, which you can find on their website and also romhack.ing. I do believe these are the best sounding translation and the most consistent, because if you were to play the PC Engine translation of the first game, there are some naming differences between the two. All 3 translations of Dead Rain make different choices on how they name certain characters. For example, Retronomicon calls the main heroine Sheila, with no I, but Wine and Shadoff name her Sheila, with the I. Same with the character Kane, with a C, which Wine and Shadoff agree that he's named Kane, with a K. And here comes the Catherine with a K and Catherine with a C shit again. Meanwhile, all 3 disagree on the character Ghoul, like a ghoul, like he's named in the Wine translation. Retronomicon named him Ghoul. That's strange, but even stranger is the Shadoff translation, which named him Ghoul, like a goo. Personally, I think the choice of calling him Ghoul, like, a ghost, is probably best, because after all, Ghoul is a nickname for the character. Now, I'm not giving shade to Shadoff for making a naming choice that I do not agree with, nor am I saying his translation is bad because I believe Wine's is better, but the consistency problems and how I generally think the game itself is an objectively inferior edition, you're just better off playing with Wine's. Although Shadoff's is 100% better than Retronomicon, even if you do. And that's what I think about Dead Rain 2. Even though I spent quite a long time ranting on and on about the game's issues, it's whatever. I've honestly dealt with worse. The game is a lot better than those boring sex romp titles, and trust me, there's a lot of those running around on PC98. I'll give Dead Rain 2 a quality but average 7.5 out of 10. Just what it deserves. Nothing super special, but it is a good time if you want to have a coffee break game to play either during the Halloween season or when you're tired of heavier games. I'll probably get to Marinefield and Necronomicon if those are ever done and released in English, but I guess there's no guarantees for that. Anyways, I'm going to be going back to my shit-den basement of making no videos for 2 years. See me in 2027 where I finally review Desire and Xenon. Bye-bye!